Okay, back on at 248. I want to talk to you about seeing if we could bundle a couple of big concepts together and find a way to get a compromise on this contract. So we're going to start with the core article for us, which would be the wage article.
Well, do you want to just get back to talk on the holiday then while it's all fresh, or?
No, we got to do some work on it. Okay. And I tell you, our gut feeling on that is as part of the package, we'll be able to work that out. So on the wage article, I know your target is 3% in year two. And if you look at our proposal for year two, I think you can see that we also recognize that 3% as a pivot point. But the way we've approached it is if we were to end up with the board budgeting less than 3%, you'd have the opportunity to reopen on that. So if we were able to package together our concept of wages with adding additional weight for seniority in the retention matrix and working in some kind of bumping provision. You know, it's bumping based upon seniority. The current contract says there's no bumping. But recognizing your desire to have more senior employees have the right to bump down to other positions in that scenario. And assuming we could work something out on holidays, do you see a scenario where we could leave the rest of the contract the way it is?
Well, just to be your response, I mean, the 3% in year two was on the heels of a $1 an hour raise, which was pretty aggressive, and so.
It's way too aggressive, by the way. We
I
ran
don't
some
think it
numbers on
is.
that.
I don't think it is.
It's a 5, 8, even higher base wage increase for most of the employees.
Okay, well, we're apart on that concept, but I just don't want to, once again, get into where the tail's wagging the dog. I mean, the dog is the $1 an hour, and the tail is, well, let's give them a break in year two. And I don't want to, okay, we'll take a break in year two, but yeah, you're.
Well, our year one is 3%.
That's your proposal, I understand.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's not, that doesn't meet our committee's, our last proposal was 6%. So, yeah, we read the paper, we should see what these other organizations, firefighters, PBA are proposing, and those contracts aren't settled yet. I also understand that there's at least one county commissioner that's supportive of spending some of that money on the BP oil spill. But, if you think about something, who did that affect? I mean, it affected the citizens, it affected the workers. I think it's a very noble gesture of that commissioner to say, hey, our workers have gone quite a few years without getting increases, and so, I want to give the money back to them since we didn't know we had it anyway. We weren't even budgeted, so we want to tap into that windfall. And so, that's just my knee-jerk response, but I'm curious to hear about your, what you mean by bumping and what's the concept for bumping. I mean, bumping in my world, usually when someone's getting laid off, they have the ability to.
I guess considering the remark to the BP layer or something, pot of dollars, what you were saying, $1 an hour for each employee raise, are you considering that next year it would be 3% on top of that $1 per hour?
Oh, I understand that, yeah. That's what it is. I mean, we have people that are just disproportionately lower than they should be, in our opinion, of earning enough money to to make a decent living and take care of their families and take their health insurance and all that good stuff. So, yeah, that is correct. So that 3% would be on top.
$8, if they were available, don't help us in that scenario.
Okay. But then again, these ad valorem taxes, the county recovering along with the
Has
rest.
to be something else.
Well, look, to go back to your question on the bumping issue, when we looked at the Article 49, the retention layoff article, started looking at the provision regarding county seniority, thinking about how to give that greater weight, which I think would address some of your concerns. You can't miss that a paragraph above that says employees who are laid off do not have bumping rights.
I understand that, Jim, but the idea that the economy has gotten better to the point it is, and I don't think there's any remote chance of employees being laid off. You're understaffed as it is. You're hiring. So having a provision that affects layoffs, I get it and I appreciate it, but it doesn't have any real need at this point in time.
Well, we just had a reduction in workforce scenario.
When was the latest reduction in workforce in Lightning? Because I wasn't aware of it.
What's going on right now, there's a grant that went away,
Grant funds.
Which departments?
community development.
How many people are slated for
It
layoff?
depends on, I don't know the specific number, 2 or 3 perhaps. I don't know the dollar amount of the grant.
Okay, so 2 or 3 people in community development might be laid off. But, yeah, and I understand, I know it's not that's not important, it is, but I think what's more important, speaking on behalf of this committee, is having some real tangible change in the culture of the way these employees are being treated in the trenches and the rank and file situations that they're in where they feel that they're not being given the respect they need for the time they've been here. And so that's kind of a far cry from a couple people in community development or whatever that might be slated for layoff.
Well, the point is that article of the contract can come into play even in a building economy. It just,
I get it.
that's why it's in there. So.
It's not that I misunderstand the proposal, I certainly do understand it. I just don't think that it's of much value to us at this point.
Okay, John, I'm just trying to identify
Sure.
some points where if we begin to build together little things that may not be that important to you with some other issues, that we might be able to find a compromise. We haven't found one yet. You have a better idea on how to do that other than us simply accepting your proposals.
Well,
Lay it out.
I sent the, I don't know if you got my email, hopefully it came to you, Kevin, did you get it from?
I just looked at my email, I didn't see one, but we'll look
And
again.
the only reason I think it's important is that, I invite you to call the Human Resources Director for
Yes.
Randall County, Jerry Hammond, on that.
No, but I got it right now.
Okay. And ask him, say, hey, what are the teachers like to work with for this seniority? He may find disagreement, for open positions, that we may not see eye to eye from time to time, but who's qualified for open positions. But I'm not saying that we're gonna always see eye to eye on everything. That's just fantasy land. But by and large, the issues for equipment being, in certain applications, equipment being offered, job assignments, and when I say certain applications, I mean certain departments, because it's not universally applied. Some departments, such as utilities in Randall County, they don't practice job assignments being offered in seniority order, but at the landfill they do. So different places of the county, and that's the reason the language that we propose is in my opinion, easy to work with, because we could sit down and say that, why seniority in certain applications, why seniority for overtime won't work here, explain to them. And DPW, we've worked out extensively the concept of portable seniority. When a group of guys are assigned to a crew, they're all in the same department, some of them may be in the same classification. You may have a medium equipment operator that's on the right-of-way crew, and a medium equipment operator that's on the road grading crew. Okay, and they're both in the Department of Public Works, but they go out to do different jobs. And if there's an overtime assignment, it's completely ass backwards to think that you're gonna pull this equipment operator from this job, who has nothing to do with the one on this job. But they have portable seniority, they go on pod. There's an answer for every possible, what you may perceive to be, something to interfere or be disruptive. There's an answer for it. And all it does is just give a nod, to the guy and gals who are out there in the trenches to say, do you want to stay or do you want to go home? Okay, you want to go home, cool. Do you want to stay or you want to go home? Well, and then everybody says, don't stay. Okay, well, guess what? I need 5 guys here. So the bottom 5 of you are staying. Top 5, have a nice evening. It's that kind of stuff. It's real easy. It's not
How does it deal with a manager's ability or inability to train less experienced employees on certain pieces of equipment or in certain jobs to affect a succession plan, knowing that maybe there's other employees that may be nearing retirement? How does the manager have the flexibility under that scenario to do something like that?
Excellent question. And training is offered by seniority. Once you are trained on a piece of equipment, and so, and I tell I don't know how many times I've told our members, it behooves you to get trained on as many things as you possibly can. It's good for you, it's good for the employer, it's good for everything. And then when the layoffs come around, if they ever do, at least you're more versatile, So, and it depends, again, because there's so many different components of the county, but let's just say, since I've been talking about Department of Public Works, or even a landfill, let's talk about the landfill, there's 6 pieces of equipment or whatever. You got your front end loader, you got a compactor, or if there's dump trucks, and you want the new hire to come there and get trained on all of them. So we have training by seniority. We have a new guy who's there. Suppose you wait till you have 2 or 3 new hires that are there. They're just off probation, they've been there for 6 months or a year. And you want them to start going around and training on the other pieces of equipment. If you're already trained on it, you don't have a claim for that training. You already have that education. If the training is going to morph into an overtime event, then I can see it being somewhat problematic. But if that's where the training is going to occur, this is a training event. We're following a procedure for training where we've gone down and, all of these guys all know how to operate all pieces of equipment. We have a new guy in there. And typically, you'll get cooperation from workers that you never thought you'd get before. Because now Doug's not threatened by this new guy that's coming around. He knows that new guy's at the bottom of the seniority roster, but he takes pride in his job, and he wants to show the new guy what to do, how to be more diversified and more skilled. The employer benefits, the employees feel good about it, you're getting some good training, where Doug's not like, oh, here comes the latest suck ass, I'm gonna sabotage his efforts, because I don't want him taking my job, so I'm gonna make sure I keep him dumbed down, so he doesn't learn anything that I know, because I've been here for 25 years. You don't have that kind of stuff, because you feel safe and secure, and it's not threatened. So the benefits keep going from there. So any situation, we'll take Fred Lapiana, if you want to call him from Hernando County. He's the
I'm just
director
thinking of a
of
situation where this is, I don't know the piece of equipment that would make a good hypothetical, but let's just say the front end loader is the preferred place to be. And we got 2 of them, there's 2 jobs a day that are front end loader jobs, and everything else is another piece of equipment. And that's the most technical, complicated job, and it's also the preferred, and that's where all the more senior guys are gonna go every time they're on a shift.
Sure.
How do I get Kevin, who's new, up to speed to take that job if I need him to, when they're always taking?
Well, if there's 4 or 5 people between Doug and Kevin, the natural progression would be that the next, when Doug retires and we need another front end operator, you already got not only 1, but 2, but 3, or 4 people trained. But
Trained but not experienced.
Well, they're all
Training
going to be
is different
experienced.
than proficiency.
They're all going to be experienced because they've all been given an opportunity to train. And I understand stuff can't
That's
happen
different.
overnight. Was that?
That's different than, in my mind, that's different. Training is different than experience. Experience is doing it on a day-to-day basis, or at least every other day basis, where you get good at that job.
Right.
And if you're not in the job, training is good, but it's not a replacement for experience.
Okay, but what we want to get away from is you like Kevin, but you don't like Tom.
I understand.
Doug's retiring, since you like Kevin, Kevin's gonna get all the time spending on that machine, and then when he retires, we got an opening, oh, guess what? He's the most qualified guy in town to get stuff on, and that's, to avoid that, you start grooming the next guy in line. And there's nothing wrong with that. Now, the thing is, if Tom can't handle it, if Tom sucks at operating that piece of equipment, he's not qualified to do the job. And you say, listen, Tom, you gave me a couple shots, you had a couple near misses, I'm sorry, but, you know, the next time that job comes open, you're probably not gonna get it until something changes. If you know, so it's all based on common sense too. You're not gonna put a person into a piece of equipment who can't do it. But I think you understand what our concern is that you're showing people respect for the time that they've been there, that they're in line waiting for something.
The problem is we see it every day where people go out and they put their buddy in that piece of equipment, and then they go and tear it up because they don't have the experience and they don't have the training. Or, you know, they say they do have the training and they go out there and they tear up equipment. Now, they're tearing up more equipment than an experienced guy who's been doing it for years and years and years, but there's no seniority, so he can put anybody there he wants. And that's the biggest problem with all of this in the county, with the seniority.
Another thing too is, again, you know, I've heard Barbara make comments like, and she would just shut down, and I'm not picking on her, but she just seemed to be so against the concept, she wouldn't even understand that there's different ways about government. It's not always top down. All right, so not every single day and every single part of the county there's going to be a list of jobs that have to be done that day. And there, guys, pick from the list that you want to do. It's not that easy. And so, like you said a minute ago, if you got 2 front loaders, in some areas, in some departments, assigning the equipment might be a better way, okay? And if you're on that piece of equipment, you're gonna do whatever the job is for that piece of equipment. So if you take a jetback truck or something, some pieces of equipment are less desirable or more desirable than others. When you get on that piece of equipment, you're gonna get the jobs that are assigned to that piece of equipment. Now, if there's 2 or 3 truck drivers, then, and there's, you know, there's seniority within there, okay, well, we got 3 assignments, one's going here, one's going here, one's going there. Which one do you want? Well, I've been here longest, I'll take this one, you know, and so what's the harm in that? The job's gonna get done, the work's gonna get done, they're all equally, you know, skilled to the point that they can perform the work. But, you know, why should you kind of care who actually gets the job, once it's done safely and competently? And so the point I'm trying to make is that I agree more than anybody. You can't just condense this into one neat little package, and that's why our proposal says that I will sit down with the department director and the human resources director, whoever you want to sit down with, and the steward, and we'll work things out. And we've done it in Hernando County. I still don't have a whole stack of what we call procedures, seniority procedures, but I have a handful of them. And the ones that I don't have, I take library services, because things are working. There's no complaints. You know, the moments workers start complaining that they're constantly getting stepped on, then they can invoke their Article 14 rights to have to call a meeting to talk about having to develop a procedure. And so, not every single department is going to utilize this. Some departments don't care about seniority, some workers don't care about seniority, some do. So all I'm asking is just give it a chance to find out loud, just give it a chance.
Sorry, I think we stopped right there.
That's fine.
John waits to yell at me until we get outside. He'll wait.
I think you're about to say something. I can jump to the question.
John, where are you with our proposal on Article 16, Indian stewards? And let me just add that if it helps, we will agree to maintain the status quo on Article 17. with this clarification of it, it provides for a union leave account, but we don't have one up and operating. We would need mutual cooperation to get it going.
Yeah, I mean, at this point in time, in absence of having any substantial movement on seniority, like I said earlier, we accept the D, we just want to keep our proposal with A and B. But, understanding we can work out a package deal, if we start getting some meaningful movement with seniority, then we certainly take a look at some of these other things that you're interested in having, with a closer eye, but we're kind of like, if we can't get what we want with seniority, and we're far apart on the money thing, it's just like, why should we agree to some of these things that, so I hate to circle back again, so, why don't you guys see what you can do with the seniority then, because that's gonna really set the tone for a lot of other things that we'd be more willing to be cooperating with if you don't want to work with us on that. Because otherwise, I don't want to predict the future, but I hate to have it, everything just shuts down when we just end up going in past a whole stack of 20, whatever, 10, 15 articles, and I don't want that, you guys don't want that, but, I got my marching orders from my members too.
All right, we'll take a look at that. Did you do some additional work on holidays? Do you want to give us what you think the list should look like, and then we'll go back to the drawing board? And as I indicated earlier, our team is greater than the 3 people sitting at the table or so. So if you want to give us your...
Well, I think we, got A and B on the instructor.
So just give me your numbers or numbers.
I'm talking about the letters A and B of the proposal.
Yeah, good.
Heading, striking the word associated in
Yeah,
second B.
that's not a problem.
Okay. I believe that A, work leave status A, should be 2 and 5.
Okay.
Work leave status B should be a modified 3. And when I say the modified 3, it means striking out the reference that the hours don't count as hours worth of overtime. Call it 6, or you can call it 3 modified, whatever, it makes a difference to me.
Okay.
Status C is 4, no pay or benefit. Status D is, again, a 3 modified. E is 2 and 5. F is 2. G and H are both 2 and 5.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, and my suggestion is that we modify 5 to say at the end that in lieu of receiving holiday pay. So there's no confusion.
You guys know whether working leave status scenarios? You talked about one that you thought of, there was no more that you came up with?
No, I think you guys nailed it. The one I thought of ended up falling into 2 other areas.
Just to understand your position on Article 5, drug-free workplace. There's currently random drug testing. We know that through a combination of federal, case law and the statute that talks about mandatory, that public employees can be, some public employees can be randomly tested. You don't think there's any need for any improvement in the language of the article?
I don't. If that's something that's important to you, you know, we'll want to take another look at it when we cross that bridge. But
Right.
at this point in time, we just like to leave it status quo.
And I'll just tell you, we're not, the proposed language is not intended to expand in any manner who can be randomly drug tested beyond those individuals who can be legally randomly tested, either by the case law or by the statute. So, if 20 members of your bargaining unit get a notice to submit to random drug testing, we're not gonna have an issue, right?
Current language is what the current language is, and so, if you do a random drug test with the current language, you know, whatever inherent problems may be found in section A, are still gonna be there.
What would those be?
I don't know, I don't know enough about random drug testing.
Okay.
But if A is problematic, and that's the reason why you gotta create an E, then by leaving the language alone, common sense would tell me that it's still gonna be just as problematic as it was if you're seeking to make something less problematic by creating E and putting some clearer definition into things, because it's gonna be less problematic for you later on.
Really, our only intent was to describe who are these mandatory test positions by, you know, cutting and pasting the statute in, so that the article is instructional to both the membership and to management. But
Well, if it's the law, it's the law. I mean,
No,
if it's just, if it's an educational piece, I mean, maybe we can send a flyer to people or something, I don't know. I mean, just, I don't know if there's a hidden bullet or not. I just, all I know is the language is fine the way it is, but if you are insisting on changing it, then that has some value to you, like we have certain language that has some value to us. We're proposing.
Jim, what year is the law that you're quoting with on the drug test?
I can't tell you without researching it, but it's a couple of years old.
I have the book right here dated May 1st,
Yeah.
2014.
What book is that?
The safety regulations for.
Yeah. It's in chapter 440, the workers' comp, drug-free workplace provision.
I think he's looking at a federal guideline.
Oh,
Federal
no, I'm
safety,
looking-
that's
I'm
like
talking about-
transportation.
Yeah, I'm talking about the state law on it, when they modified,
Florida state law.
when they modified the workers' comp statute to include the provision for mandatory test positions. Does that book have the state provisions as well, or just the federal?
Yeah, it does.
All right, so it's in 440. Give me 1 second here.
That's good, I believe, for CDL.
Yeah, but it does have all the, it's got different states and stuff in here. I looked for something on Florida.
Different state statutes as they relate to CDL. Your proposal is not limited to CDL, limited to CDL.
No, that's already in existence. That's a different set of rules that
Right, I think
declare that. That's why,
Yeah. Well, this is just pertaining to the safety sensitive conditions. I thought that's what you were.
no, and I'm glad you mentioned that, because when they modified the statute, they substituted this mandatory position for safety sensitive. So it was one, you know, the reference used to be safety sensitive, now it's mandatory position, mandatory test position. The connection's a little slow here in this part of the building. All right, so it's in Florida statute 440.102.
Let's switch gears a little bit too, back to the wages. We're going to have, I just haven't got,
Hang on one second. It's the definition of mandatory testing position is in subsection O. And I believe
I don't have that this way,
yeah, it's online.
Yeah, okay. Mine is, my O was Hawaii. Yeah.
Okay, want to do, John?
on the wages, something I should have prepared by today, and I didn't remind you about it, but we want to have some kind of component, this is, because we've been talking about, things that apply universally, but unit-wide. But I keep getting reminded that there's a group of employees that, they work in confined places or spaces, and it's like a hazardous kind of, type of job that they do, and I guess it's typically compensated in other places with hazardous pay, some sort of, and that's what I need to figure out, is like, okay, what is the value of it, and how should we propose it, and everything else, but if you guys want to elaborate on it, I can tell.
Yeah, I'm not really sure the figures, but I mean, obviously in different departments of the county, whether it be police or firemen, they do get the hazards of pay. We've tried it before because of what we're exposed to in wastewater, all the stuff that's in there, and all the different diseases, but we figured that, all right, well, maybe the confined space, because, we have to use gas meters when you go in the hole, you gotta be suited up. I mean, if that's not,
Ask Michelle, when she did her workday with utilities, we took her out and showed her what a well looked like. And you can't always pump these wells down to the bottom. Guys have to go down there, and it's like a 15-foot circle, and they have to work down at the bottom of these things.
some of them are 40 foot, some of them
Some of them are 45 foot deep.
Yeah. And when we work at the plants, we go that deep, but huger. So, there should be something for at least the confined space. I mean, I think the job really deserves for the whole thing because of what we're exposed to in the wastewater, but it's definitely for the confined space. I mean, when you got a meter, put gas meters in and see what you're getting into for the environment, I mean, it should be something. I mean, because the cops get it, the firemen get it. I mean, I don't see what the difference is.
There is no provision in the fire contract for hazard pay, but you'll come back with a list of what those positions are and what
Is
you're
it
looking for.
just isolated to utilities, or?
Yes.
Yeah, utilities the only one that has to do the confined space entries.
And,
They have to pass a special test.
Oh yeah, you gotta go through confined
gotta
space
go to
training, you gotta be fit
confined space school.
tested, you gotta, there's a
And
lot
then
to it.
You
It's
have
not
to get
like,
your special fitted mask that you have to wear, and,
What about stormwater, they don't have to?
no.
no.
so the confined space training might be the best place to kind of, tackle this. So if you,
Are those people currently getting certification pay of any kind?
No.
No, not for confined space.
Okay.
We got them for some collections licenses, we did, but that's why we're kind of bringing, because people were saying, wait a minute, they're giving us this for collections or this or that. I mean, it ought to count for something when a dude goes down in the ground 40 foot in the ground, and you gotta use gas meters, and when the gas meters go off, your ass gotta get right back up top and get out of that hole. Well, that happens quite frequently when you're dealing with all those gases.
it'll
So,
probably be less complicated to try and, have this adjusted, compensation for when people are actually performing the work, as opposed to if you just get certified.
Yes, we're looking for.
every time you do a confined space is what we're talking about.
Yes,
It's the
just
training.
when you do the confined space itself, you should get extra money for that day,
I mean,
and that day only.
Yeah, not all the
So you want
time.
to have a job related, and not just because you got the endorsement. You want it to be
Yes.
actual real time.
Right.
Okay.
It ought to count
Well,
for something.
I'm the one that wrote up the proposal and gave it to John. My proposal was $20 extra a day, just the day that you do a confined space.
And that's just an example. of-
Yes.
How much time do they typically spend doing those type of duties?
Could be 8 hours.
Could be all
Depends
day.
on, yeah, and into overtime, it depends on what's broke and how long it takes to fix it.
I just wanna make sure it doesn't go on record that that's our proposal, that's just what.
Yeah, we're just
Yeah,
talking.
that's just my suggestion.
And, you know, it might be a better way to do it, but, you know, since we're in a, now we got this newfound, you know, ability to share proposals, I'm liking this, how it is with most employers, and it's nice, it's refreshing, and I appreciate you guys, you know, kind of opening that door.
We'd rather work like this than,
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely. 'Cause
Like
It's just,
no.
it's just, it has been so combated for so long, and it's just a snide and snippy remarks, and, you know, if you guys are a breath of fresh air, and a home, you know, blow smoke, it's just, I hope we can get something more done, and be more efficient use of our time.
and that, we forgot to bring up what we had brought up about the shift differential.
Well, we have shift differential pay. Didn't you guys have a proposal on that? What did that, what did you give us one? To kind of reflect. I know we gave one about when somebody is filling in for someone. I thought you guys had already proposed it.
Yeah, it should be, if you're covering a shift, it's got shift differential, you should get the shift differential pay, but that's not what's happening.
Is there a document?
Yeah, that's it.
So what date is it? July 2nd?
Yeah, for 1 second.
Well, that addressed the emergency communications employees, and
Right.
so we, you know, a grievance issue that got resolved, and so now it's looking into is a new letter C. But what we had discussed at that time, I think it was on July 2nd, when someone is filling in for somebody who's receiving shift differential, why should they not be entitled to it? As an example, someone's going on vacation, and now I'm being taken off my shift filling in for them.
They call in sick.
Yeah, calling sick, or when, I mean, you know, I get ping ponging back and forth during the course of a week. You know, it's kind of tough on the body and stuff, but, certainly absences that are chunks of time, a week or greater, certainly should warrant, you know, filling in for a person who's night shift, receiving shift differential pay. Why shouldn't I receive the same? So, thanks for bringing that up.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, there's a history of,
Well,
some get it, some don't.
fine with this, just expanding the list of issues.
No, we're not.
That we have to resolve.
Well, no,
you know.
we're like you guys, we have marching orders, there are things that people
I
have
get
come
it,
to us
yeah,
throughout
so-
the year,
no,
and
that-
we've gotta address it.
Let me finish what I was gonna say. At the next bargaining session, do you think you'll be in a position to give us your proposals on anything else we need to address? to
I think
close
there was
out the
only
contract?
two that weren't included, which is covered.
All right, so we'll see written proposals on.
Yeah, and I just want to remind you that, I got it right here, I'm not on my notes, when you guys had proposed your proposal for 44, we had verbally communicated a calendar. I have my notes right here. Creating a new section D, employees filling in for employees who receive shift differential pay shall receive such differential for all their work.
Yeah.
So,
Perfect.
I will formalize it, you know, but it was communicated.
I know you indicated that you're going to assume the responsibility of putting the contract in its final form, because I know you said you wanted to alphabetize it. At our next bargaining session, can you be ready to bring back the articles that we have agreed on? We'll formally TA them.
I'll certainly try.
When you do the contract itself, I mean, do you personally do it, or you have somebody that is
You can
really good at contract? And Word and all that stuff.
Lately, I've been having one of our secretaries do it. I haven't been known to do it myself.
All right, my assistant, Judine, who I think you've talked to a couple of times, when I was talking to her about that, she said that in addition to that, we could also mark specific terms in the contract. And in addition to having a table of contents that's alphabetical, you could have an index at the end that links you to all the times that word's used, where it's used, so.
Okay, like an arbitration transcript.
Exactly, and she said she would work with somebody in your office on how to do that if you want.
Why don't you just do it? Sounds like to me she doesn't know.
She's got some other things to work out. That wasn't on her job improvement plan.
Jim's got to renew the lease on again.
Uh-oh.
He's gonna cut the teams, cut my yacht.
So, and anyway, to me, that we, if you don't mind, and then
Yeah, I
Hey, that's a good olive branch, thank you.
she'll reach out to whoever you want her to reach out to.
I've never seen one of those in a CBA.
No, but you're right, it's exactly like in a deposition transcript with all the link. I mean, you gotta pick the words you wanna link, you wanna find, but it'll do it. It'll create it.
I mean, we're not gonna do this every word.
No, but, you know.
Come on, every
It'd be
word.
nice to.
Every time you see the word thought in there, it'll be like
It'd be nice
700
to,
entries.
find the word seniority everywhere it shows up, right?
It's gonna
Yeah,
be-
that's
Or
important.
overtime.
Used quite a lot.
Yeah, those are two
Or
important words.
discipline, or management rights.
Or raises.
That one won't be in there too much.
I don't know what else we could accomplish today, but, and I don't think we've picked another date to bargain, have we?
No, yeah.
All right, we're gonna have to check our calendar, so why don't I contact you with some available dates? All right,
Kevin, would I be able to take a couple of minutes on a different subject when we're done? Sure. Well, you can stay if you want, I don't care, everybody.
Well, I don't
matter, right?
All right, so we're wrapping it up at 3:30. And the date for the next bargaining session will be agreed to by communication away from the table.
What is the next step with that, Fourth of July? Are you guys still looking at it, or?
I saw that, I've been out in open enrollment, we've got the EOC activated, so I saw emails flying around, then I saw Barbara answer the question. Did you, in that email, give specific people's names for their time cards?
I did, but, I do recall forwarding a list of names, but Jim's got everything right here.
I got everything right here if you wanna look at it. I have the duty roster, the,
What's that shows?
worked before.
There's a group of people who work their time and a half.
Yeah.
And some people who want this kind of inconsistent.
So, days off, or actual days, or actual